Hello dear students, welcome to Konar classes. Today we are going to start definite integrals. Okay, so let us understand that what is meant by the definite integral. Definite integral is denoted by integration. If I write fx dx, okay, then there are two numbers here, a and b. Okay, so a is known as the lower limit. Okay, so this a is known as the lower limit and that b is known as the upper limit. Okay dear students, so what it signifies? By the way, that a to b integration fx dx has a definite value, means it has a fixed value, and that is why it is known as the definite integral. If you notice dear students, when we earlier discussed indefinite integral, there was an integrating constant called c, generally we define. Now because of this integrating constant, the value of this integral, that is known as indefinite integral, was not fixed. It could have many values, hence the name was indefinite integral. But here the value of integration a to b fx dx is a fixed value, definite value, hence it is known as definite integral. Okay, but it is known as, it has a definite value, but what it signifies? It signifies the thing which I am going to describe by means of this diagram. Okay, so let us draw the x and y axis. Okay, so this is positive direction of x axis, this is negative direction of x axis, this is positive direction of y axis, and this is negative direction of y axis, and this is origin. Okay, now if we have a curve something like this, suppose we have a curve something like this, okay, and that curve we name it at y equal to fx. Okay, then what is the significance of a to b fx dx is the area bounded by the curve and two ordinates. One ordinate is x equal to a, this is a, and another ordinate, that is x is equal to b, and the x-axis. Okay dear students, so that means what? It is the area of the region. If I give the name this point as the point P, this point as point Q, this point as point R, this point as point S, then that integration a to b fx dx is nothing but the area of the region P R S Q P. Okay, so this is equal to, what we can write is that area of the bounded region, area of the bounded region bounded region, area of the bounded region P R S Q P. So I repeat once more, that means what? This is the area of this region, okay, this region is the area of, that is integration a to b fx dx, that is that the region bounded by the curve y equal to fx, then the two ordinates, that is x equal to a and x equal to b, means what is the equation of this straight line dear students? That is x equal to a. What is the equation of this straight line dear students? So it is x equal to b and the x-axis. So let me tell you once more, the value of the integration a to b fx dx is nothing but the area of the bounded region bounded by one curve, that is y equal to fx, and three straight lines. One straight line is x equal to a, this straight line, another straight line is x equal to b, this straight line, and the x-axis. Correct? So this is one thing. So this is the way we can say that area of the bounded region P R S Q P. Also dear students, we can say that integration a to b fx dx, we can write it as that we can write capital FB minus capital FA, where Fx is nothing but the antiderivative of Fx. Okay, dear students, so what we can say that Fx is nothing but antiderivative of Fx. That means what? That we can say ddx of capital Fx is equal to, lowercase fx. Correct, dear students? So did you get it? So this is the way also we can find the value of the integral a to b fx dx. First one is the area, and second one in terms of the value of the antiderivative functions, okay, at point B minus the value of the antiderivative function at the point A. That is capital FB minus capital FA. Okay, so now dear students, what we are going to do, we are going to find what is that value of this area, how to compute this value of this area, that is P R S Q P, and that we are going to work on now. So here is the diagram. As you see that this is the point A, this is the point B, okay. And what we are going to do, dear students, we are going to find the area of the bounded region PRSQP. For that, what we are doing, first we are dividing this portion P to R, that is A to B, into equal parts, okay, equal intervals, as you see it here. In that way we are making into equal intervals. So this is one interval also, and it continues, and width of these intervals are equal, and let us define that width of this interval as h. So then what we are going to get it, dear students? So suppose this point A we defined as x0, then it is x1, then it is x2, then it is x3. In that way we can get it xr minus 1, it is xr, and finally we can say B is equal to xn. Okay, dear students, so we are making this entire that region, that entire area into subintervals. Okay, so now from this subinterval what we are taking this particular portion. Suppose this is the point A, and this is the point B, this is the point C, okay, this is the point D. Okay, so let us now focus on finding the area of the region ABDCA. Okay, so let us try to find that one. So let me clean this portion. We are going to evaluate it here. Okay, so if we see that area of the region ABDCA, okay, so area of the region ABDCA is actually, if we make a rectangle here, okay, suppose we make a rectangle here. From this point C we draw a perpendicular on the line BD, and suppose we name it as L. Then what we get, dear students? We get that area of this region ABDCA is greater than the area of the rectangle ABLC. So what we can write here? So we can write, so this is area of the rectangle, area of ABLC, correct? So other way we can say area of the rectangle ABLC is less than the area of the region ABDCA. And again let us draw a perpendicular. Okay, so perpendicular from the point D to the extended line of AC. So what it will be? It will be something like this. Okay, and if we extend that line AC, it will be something like this. And the point of intersection of the perpendicular line drawn from the point D to the extended line of AC, suppose we gave it as name M. Okay. Then what we can say is that area of the region ABDCA is less than the area of the rectangle ABDM. So what we can say, dear students? So we can say this is less than area of the rectangle ABDM. Okay. Now few interesting points. Okay, the first one is that, as I said in the very beginning, let me say you now, that all these intervals, that's from A to x1, x1 to x2, x2 to x3, they are all equally spaced, and let us define that space as H. Then what we get? We get x1 is equal to A plus H. Correct or not? If this interval, length of this interval is H, then x1 should be what? Whatever the A plus H. Then x2 should be what? x2 should be x1 plus H. And what is x1? x1 is nothing but A plus H. So you can write A plus H plus H. That means A plus 2 into H. In that way we can find the value of x3 is equal to A plus 3 into H. And if we reach to x r minus 1, so what we'll get? In that way if we go, then we get the value of x r minus 1 is equal to A plus r minus 1 into H. What is the value of xr then? The value of xr is equal to A plus r into H. And in that way we will go till the point B. B is nothing but xn, correct? So what we can write? Xn is equal to A plus n into H. Correct or not? Now what is xn? Xn is nothing but B. So what is B is equal to A plus n into H. So what we can write? That B is equal to A plus n into H. So from here what we can say, dear students, that H is equal to B minus A by n. Okay. So now let us come back here. What is the area of the rectangle ABLC? So rectangle, area of a rectangle, length into breadth. What is the length? Length is AC. So area of this rectangle ABLC, what we can find? So let me find it here. Area of ABLC, that is equal to what? Length is AC into breadth AB. So AC into AB, AC into AB. What is the value of AC, dear students? That value of AC is nothing but the value of the function y equal to fx when x equal to x r minus 1. So we just apply x equal to x r minus 1 and we get the value of AC, that means f of x r minus 1. So what you can write? That you can write is equal to f of x r minus 1 into AB. What is AB? AB is this interval length H. So H. So what is the value of this area of the rectangle ABLC? That you can write is equal to H into f of x r minus 1. Correct? So from here what you can write, dear students? So that we can write H into f x r minus 1 less than area of the region, area of the region ABDCA is less than. Now let us find the area of the rectangle ABDM. Okay. Now if you look into the rectangle ABDM, that is nothing but AM into AB, or we can say AM equal to BD. So BD into AB. Okay. So what we can write? Area of the rectangle ABDM, that is equal to what? AB that is the breadth, into we can write BD. Correct? Now what is AB? AB is H, we already discussed. Okay, and what is BD? BD, the point B is XR, so BD should be the value of the function fx at x equal to XR, that means fxr. So we can write H into f XR. So correct, dear students. So what we can write here, that area of the rectangle ABDM as H into f of XR. That is a very interesting point. Now, so let me tell you once more that area of the region ABDCA is actually greater than the area of the rectangle ABLC, but lesser than the area of the rectangle ABDM. So that means the area of the bounded region ABDCA is actually sandwiched between the area of the rectangle ABLC and area of the rectangle ABDM. Correct? Now think of, dear students, that if you make this A and B is nearer to each other, then what will happen? All these areas will be converging to a single value. Correct or not? Think about that, A and B you are actually making closing to each other. When you are making A and B closing to each other, that means what, dear students? H is tending to 0, because AB is H and you are making A and B closer to each other. That means H is tending to 0. So when you make H is tending to 0, think about H is tending to 0. That means what? N must be tending to infinite. H tending to 0 is implying that N tending to infinite. That means what? We can see that we have make into equal interval, there are n intervals, that is, and the number of intervals are infinite. Correct? And so that that interval length actually now just converging to 0, near to 0. Then all these three areas, area of the rectangle ABLC, area of the region ABDCA and area of the region ABDM, area of the rectangle ABDM, all are converging to a single value. Okay. So now what we can do is that, so now if we start finding the areas of all the lower rectangles, that means this is the lower rectangle, then this is the lower rectangle, this is the lower rectangle. In that way, if we add all these lower rectangles, so that area should be lesser than the area of this curve. Correct? Okay, and that should be lesser than the upper rectangle, that is the upper rectangle. Correct? In that way we can proceed. So what we see, that area of the region PRSQP is actually greater than the sum of the areas of the lower rectangles, as you see, and lesser than the sum of the upper rectangles, that is this one, the upper rectangles. So what we can say, dear students? So from here what we can say, dear students, is that how to find the areas of the all lower rectangles. So lower rectangle starts from here, that means what? x0, so fx0 into h. Correct or not? That is h. So what is the area of this rectangle, lower rectangle? Area of this lower rectangle will be what? That should be that p2q into that width h. So what is pq? Pq is nothing but fx0. Correct? So the P point is nothing but x0 and it is intersecting the curve. So if we draw an ordinate from the point P, it is intersecting the curve at the point Q. So the length of PQ is nothing but the value of the function f at x equal to 0. So what we can write? We can write h into fx0 plus area of the next lower rectangle, that should be fx1, that is this length, and width should be same h. So h into fx1. In that way it will continue till what? You will find the last interval here, na? So if we draw something like this, what it will be? It will be xn minus 1. So that will be f of xn minus 1 into h. So that will be h into f of xn minus 1. Okay. So that is lesser than the area of the region, what we can write, P R S Q P. Okay, P R S Q P, and that is lesser than the region, you know what, the sum of the areas of the upper rectangles. To find the area of the first upper rectangle, so what you need to do, that h remains same, but it will be fx1, correct, this one. Then next one will be h into fx2, the right side of this, you know, rectangular part. So what we can write, we can write h into fx1 plus h into fx2 plus dot 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 plus h into f of xn, correct. So that is the proposition what we found it out. Okay, so what we can write, dear students, so from here we can write that summation of h into f of xi, okay, where I is varying from 1 to n minus 1, or we can write here xr, chalo, xr, r is varying from 0 to n minus 1, 0 to n minus 1 is less than area of the region PRSQP. PRSQP is nothing but the definite integral a to b fx dx, integral a to b fx dx is less than that h into fx1 plus h into fx2 plus h into dot 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 plus h into fxn. That means summation of h into f of xr, where r is varying from 1 to n. Now dear students, what we see is that h is what? H is a constant. So we can take that h outside of this summation, correct or not? So what we can say, dear students, from here, let me write it down. So from here what you can write is that this implies that h into summation of f of xr, okay, where r is from 0 to n minus 1 is less than the definite integral a to b fx dx, okay, and less than h into summation of f of xr, where r is varying from 1 to n. Okay, so this is the thing we get. Now dear students, what you need to find is that what is h into summation r equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxr. That is the sum of the areas of the all lower rectangles. So let us define this as Sn. Okay, so this implies, you know, we can say that small Sn is less than integration a to b fx dx is less than capital Sn. What is small Sn? Is the sum of the areas of where Sn is equal to sum of the areas of lower rectangles. Okay, and what is capital Sn? Capital Sn is equal to sum of the areas of upper rectangles. Okay, now in the limiting concept, that means when we varying in towards infinite, then what will happen, that this Sn, capital Sn and this integration a to b fx dx should converge to a single point. So a single value. Let me repeat once more. As we get this thing that Sn is less than a to b fx dx less than capital Sn. Now what is lowercase Sn? Is that sum of the areas of the lower rectangles, and capital Sn is the sum of the areas of the upper rectangles. Now dear students, when we vary n, okay, when we make n towards infinite, that means when we make into that entire interval, entire point P to R into many intervals, infinite number of intervals, what will happen? The area of this region, that is a to b fx dx, or area of the region P R SQP, or the value of the definite integral a to b fx dx will be same as limit n tends to infinite lowercase sn, and also it is equal to the limit n tends to infinite, uppercase sn. So what we can say, dear students? So from here we can say that integration a to b fx dx is equal to limit of n tending to infinite lowercase sn, that is also equal to limit n tending to infinite uppercase sn. Okay, so now for our convenience, what we can take either the value of this definite integral as either as this or as this. So we consider this one, okay, for our convenience. So from here what we can say? From here we can say integration a to b fx dx is equal to limit n tends to infinite, okay, we can write h into summation of f xr, okay, where r is varying from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, now let us work little bit more on it. What is h? H is nothing but b minus a by n. So we can write this one b minus a by n. So this one we can write it as this is equal to limit n tends to infinite b minus a by n, okay, into summation of f xr, where r is varying from 0 to n minus 1. Correct, dear students? So now b minus a is a constant we can take out of this limit. So then what we are going to get it? So from here we are going to get it, dear students, that integration a to b fx dx is equal to b minus a. So that b minus a we take out of the limit n tends to infinite 1 by n into what we can write? We can write is that f of that summation we can break actually, write in more elaborate manner. So first r equal to 0, so f of x0 plus f of x1 plus f of x2, correct? In that way we will go till f of x n minus 1, correct? So in that way it can continue and we get f of x n minus 1. Okay, so now what we see, the value of this limit, okay, the value of this limit n tends to infinite 1 by n into fx0 plus fx1 plus fx2 up to fx n minus 1 multiplied by b minus a is going to give us the value of the definite integral a to b fx dx. Okay, so this is going to give us the value of the definite integral a to b fx dx. That is why we define that integration a to b fx dx, as we see that the value of the integration a to b fx dx is nothing but b minus a and into limit of n tends to infinite 1 by n fx0 plus fx1 plus fx2 up to f of x n minus 1. So the value of this definite integral a to b fx dx as a computed as a limit of a sum. That is why it is known as the value of this a to b fx dx when you compute like b minus a into limit n tends to infinite 1 by n into fx0 plus fx1 plus fx2 up to f of x minus 1, we say that we computed the value of this definite integral by using the limit of a sum. So what we get, dear students? So we get something like this. Let me summarize, and after that we will solve couple of problems. Okay, so here it is. So the value of this definite integral a to b fx dx, value of the integral a to b fx dx is equal to b minus a, okay, into limit of n tending to infinite. Then here we are writing that 1 by n into fx0 plus fx1 plus fx2. In that way it will continue plus fx n minus 1. Okay, so this is the value of this definite integral a to b fx dx, and it is known as that limit of a sum, the value of the definite integral as a limit of a sum, limit of a sum. Why limit of a sum? Because it is a limit and then we are adding it, so limit of a sum. Let us take one example and it will be very well understood to how to find that one. Okay, so using the limit of a sum, find the value of the integral 0 to 2 x square plus 1 dx. Okay, what are the steps to be followed? Notice very carefully, dear students. Okay, very simple step by step procedure. Initial few days you may take some time, but after that you will become very comfortable. No need to worry at all. So integration 0 to 2 x square plus 1 dx, and the question is that we need to find the value of this definite integral using limit of a sum. What to do? So if we make an analogy with this one, with this formula, what we get? We get the value of a, we get the value of a as 0, value of b is equal to 2. What is the value of fx? Fx is equal to x square plus 1. Okay, so these are the values we get. So now then what we can write here? This is equal to, we can write b minus a, that is 2 minus 0, limit n tending to infinite, n tending to infinite, then 1 by n f of x0. x0 is equal to what? x0 is equal to a, that is equal to 0. What is x1? x1 is equal to, if you recall from here also, x1 is equal to a plus h. A plus h means what? That is 0 plus h. Correct? Fine or not? So that is equal to h. So x2 is equal to what? A plus 2h. That means a is 0, 0 plus 2h. So x2 is equal to 2h. Okay, in that way you will get that x of n minus 1 is equal to n minus 1 into h. Now what is h? H is nothing but b minus a by n. Correct? So what is h? H is equal to b minus a by n. That means 2 minus 0 by n. That implies what we get? H is equal to 2 by n. Okay, so that value we need to apply here. So what we write? 1 by n into fx0. fx0 means f0. Correct? So we write f of 0 plus f of x1, that means f of h. f of h plus f of x2, that is f of 2h, f of 2h. In that way it will continue till f of x n minus 1, that is n minus 1 into h. So what we get, that is equal to n minus 1 into h, correct? So this is the limit we get. Now dear students, all we need to do is to find the value of this limit, and for that we need to go back to our knowledge of limit, which we have done in the last year in class 11, and we will see how to do this thing. So let us work on it. What is it? Is 2 minus 0 is 2. So limit n tending to infinite. What we get here, dear students? So 1 by n. Now let's see what is the value of f0. What is fx? Fx equal to x square plus 1. Fx equal to x square plus 1, correct? So what is the value of f0? F0 should be equal to 1 plus, what is fh? It should be h square plus 1. So it should be h square plus 1 plus, what is f of 2h? Should into 2 into h whole square plus 1. So that means it will be, so we can write 2 into h whole square. So we can write here 2 into h whole square plus 1, that we can write here like this, okay? Then it will be f of 3h. In the same manner it will continue, and then we will get finally that f of n minus 1 into h, that means n minus 1 into h whole square plus 1. That means what we get it here, dear students, that n minus 1 into h, okay, that complete whole square, okay, that complete whole square, plus 1, okay. So that is the value of this limit. Now dear students, so let's look into it, that so this is equal to, we can get 2 into limit n tending to infinite, okay, what we get 1 by n, okay. Now what we get, that here we see, dear students, that 1, here is also 1, here is also 1, in that way till nth term, that is 1. From 0th term to n minus 1th term there is 1. So that means what we can write? We can write here, it is at 1 plus 1 plus 1 up to n times, okay. So we can write 1, this is coming as n times, okay, plus what we are going to get? Plus we are going to get h square plus 2h whole square plus 3h whole square up to n minus 1h whole square. So what we get? Plus we can write h square plus 2 into h complete whole square. In that way it will go up to n minus 1 into h complete whole square, okay. And now let us find the value of this limit, okay. So how to find this value of this limit? So from here what we can get is that this is equal to 2 into limit n tending to infinite, okay. What we get? We get it here 1 by n into 1 plus 1 plus 1 up to n times. So it will be n plus, here we see h square, next one is that 2 square into h square, next one will be 3 square into h square. In that way n minus 1 whole square into h square. So what we can take? H square we can take common. After that what we can write? It is 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square up to, in that way it will go up to n minus 1 whole square, okay. And then we are done with this limit, okay. We'll compute this value. So now let us compute in this space, okay. So we can find the value here, okay. Or let me do it here. Okay, so let us now find the value of this limit. Okay, from here we continue. So this will be equal to 2 into limit n tending to infinite. Okay, what we get is that 1 by n into n. Okay, here we get n plus h square. H square, what is h square? H square, we can write h square is equal to 2 by n whole square. That means it is actually 4 by n square. So instead of h square, we can write 4 by n square. Okay, dear students. So what we can write is that it is 4 by n square into the sum of this series. If you recall, dear students, that what is the sum up to the first n terms? What? If you recall, that 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square up to up to n square. That means sum of the squares of the first n natural numbers. That is equal to what? That is equal to n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 divided by 6. Correct? But what we have n minus 1 whole square. That means till sum of the squares of the first n minus 1 natural numbers. That means we should replace n by n minus 1. So what we can write, h square you already write 4 by n square into, here we can write that n minus 1, here we can write n minus 1 into n plus 1 will be what? N minus 1 plus 1, that is n, and 2 into n minus 1 plus 1. Okay, 2 into n minus 1 plus 1, that means 2n minus 2 plus 1, that means 2n minus 1, 2n minus 1, okay, divided by 6. Correct? Okay, now what we are going to do here, dear students, so that is equal to 2 into limit n tending to infinite. Okay, what we get here is that, let us multiply 1 by n with both these expressions. So what we get, 1 by n into n, that is equal to 1, plus 4 by 6, 4 by 6 means 2 by 3, so we make 2 by 3 separate, into 1 by n into 1 by n square, that means 1 by n cube, into what is there, n minus 1 into n into 2n minus 1. Correct? So here second bracket is sufficient. Correct, dear students? So then what we get here, so this is equal to 2 into what we can write, we are bringing that limit inside. So limit of n tends to infinite 1 plus 2 by 3. So we can write here limit n tending to infinite 2 by 3, and what we are doing, dear students, that n cube is there now. So n cube we are dividing here, here and here. So 1 by n we are, or we can say in that way that we are multiplying 1 by n with this one, 1 by n with this one, and 1 by n with this one. So what we are going to get, we are going to get that n minus 1 by n into n by n into 2n minus 1 by n. Correct? So this is equal to what, dear students? So that is equal to 2 into limit n tends to infinite 1 means 1, that is equal to 1 plus limit n tends to infinite 2 by 3 we can take outside of this, 2 by 3 is a constant, we can take outside of the limit. So 2 by 3 into what we get, limit of 1 minus 1 by n tending to infinite. So we can give the second bracket into 1 into 2 minus 1 by n. So how we are getting it? So 1 minus 1 by n, so n minus 1 by n. So if we divide n by n is 1 minus 1 by n. Then next one is n by n, which is 1. And again 2n minus 1 by n, that means 2n by n, that is 2 minus 1 by n. Correct? So that is equal to what we are getting, dear students? So 2 into 1 plus 2 by 3 into limit n tends to infinite. That means if n is tending to infinite, that means 1 by n is tending to 0. So what we can write? Instead of 1 by n, we can write 0. So it is 1 minus 0 into 1 into 2 minus 0. Correct or not? So what we are getting, dear students? So that is equal to 2 into 1 plus 2 into 1 plus 2 by 3 into 1 minus 0 is 1, 1 into is 1, 1 into 2 is 2. So 2. So that is equal to, we get 2 into 1 plus 4 by 3. So if you simplify, 3 will go there, 3 plus 4, 7 by 3. So that is equal to 2 into 7 by 3, that is equal to 14 by 3. Now as the value of this definite integral is an area, so we can write 14 by 3 square units. So this is the way we find the value of this definite integral as a limit of a sum. Now how to verify that we got this result correct? So there is a way to verify also. If you recall that we discussed in the beginning that if we know what is the antiderivative of x square plus 1, okay, what is the antiderivative of x square plus 1? That is equal to x cube by 3 plus x. Correct or not? So the way to find 0 to 2 x square plus 1 dx. So that is equal to integration x square dx will be what? X cube by 3 plus integration dx is x. Or we can say that x cube by 3 plus x is the antiderivative of x square plus 1. And here we write lower limit 0, upper limit 2. And as we have learned that should be equal to the value of this antiderivative at the upper limit minus value of the antiderivative at the lower limit. So that implies what, dear students? So from here we get this is equal to, you know, x cube, that means 2 to the power 3 by 3 plus 2, that is done, minus 0 to the power 3 by 3 plus 0. So that is equal to 0. So you no need to worry about this thing. So 8 by 3 plus 2. So that is equal to what? It is 14 by 3 square units. Okay, which is matching with this one. So this is the way, you can do it in a minute, but when you do using the limit of a sum, it took, you know, several minutes. So once you are done with this, you know, the limit of a sum by spending several minutes and using the limit, and next problem what you will do, then you will find that we need to really apply the you know, limit formula, then you will see that you get some result. Now how to verify that your result is correct? For that you do these steps, that is, you first integrate. You know how to integrate from your knowledge of indefinite integration. You integrate and then put the lower limit as 0 and upper limit as 2, because the integration from 0 to 2. After that you apply the value 2 here, okay, and minus apply the value 0 there and compute. Okay, now one important point I would like to tell you, dear students, and that important point is that suppose you have been given integration is something like this, okay. So let me write it here. So what I am saying is that suppose you are finding the value of the definite integration a to b fx dx. Okay, and you will get a definite value, as I said earlier. Now that is also equal to integration a to b ft dt. Okay, and that is also equal to, you know, integration a to b fu du, and in that way you can proceed. What I wanted to mean is that, dear students, if you look at this x, this t and this u, it doesn't depend on that. The value of the integration, definite integration, will remain the same. If the value of this integration is, suppose we say it is p, okay, then all will be equal to